Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something pretty heavy, actually. AI soldiers and, the huge implications of what they call lethal autonomous weapon systems, or Law WS.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to try and cut through some of the noise for you, our listener. We want to pull out the key insights on the military, the ethical, and the legal stuff around these systems.
Exactly. And the thing is, it's not really about if we can build these anymore. The tech is, well, it's pretty much here in many ways.
Right.
The real question now is how we, as, humanity, are going to govern them. How do we protect human judgment, ensure accountability, and uphold the laws of war?
Okay, so let's unpack this first bit, because I found this surprising. There isn't actually one single definition for laws that everyone agrees on.
No, not universally. And that ambiguity is kind of central to the whole debate.
Why is that? What does that ambiguity actually do?
Well, because if you can't clearly define it, you can't clearly regulate it. So the U.S. Department of Defense, for example, they define laws as systems that can basically find, track, and fire on targets all on their own once they're switched on. That's the human out-of-the-loop idea.
Okay.
And that's different from semi-autonomous, where a human is still in the loop, maybe selecting the targets beforehand, or human supervised, where someone is on the loop, ready to step in and override it.
Ah, okay. So that lack of a single definition, it creates this regulatory, like a gray zone.
Exactly, a gray zone. And lets states sort of nudge things forward with systems that feel autonomous, even if technically there's still a human sign-off somewhere.
Like slippery slope then.
You could definitely see it that way, yeah. A gradual slide. Think about systems like the IAI Harop drone or that SGR-A1 Sentry gun in Korea. They reportedly need human authorization to fire.
Right.
But they represent this definite trend towards giving machines more and more control over critical functions.
Okay, let's shift to the arguments for these systems. It's kind of a dual-edged sword, isn't it? Militaries talk about them being a force multiplier, potentially reducing human casualties because you're taking people out of those dull, dirty, or dangerous jobs. Faster decisions, too, maybe.
Yeah.
And working when communications are down.
Right. Those are the main military arguments. And then there's the other one, which is, well, it's fascinating and maybe a bit chilling.
Which is?
The idea that machines could actually be more humane.
More humane.
How the argument goes that machines aren't clouded by emotions like fear or anger or vengeance, so maybe they could make more objective, rational decisions in the heat of battle, potentially fewer civilian deaths, that kind of thing.
But then you get the immediate ethical pushback.
Absolutely. A powerful one. The core belief for many is that the decision to take a human life should never be delegated to a machine. Full stop.
Because machines lack empathy. They can't understand the value of life.
Precisely. And this runs right into huge problems with international humanitarian law, or IHL, especially principles like distinction telling civilians from combatants.
Which is hard enough for humans sometimes.
Exactly. And proportionality, making sure the military gain outweighs the potential harm to civilians. These things require really nuanced, contextual human judgment. Machines just aren't there. They can't replicate that.
So what does this all mean? It feels like a paradox. Human emotions can lead to terrible things in war, yes, but they're also the source of empathy, restraint, remorse.
Right, and if you remove those qualities by automating the decision to kill, you risk this deeper, maybe more profound dehumanization of conflict itself. It changes the very nature of warfare.
And that leads us straight into this accountability gap, doesn't it? If a machine makes a mistake, who's responsible?
That's the million-dollar question. It's incredibly difficult. Is it the operator who switched it on, the commander who deployed it, the programmer who wrote the code, the manufacturer?
The legal hurdles seem massive. Plus, you have the black box problem with AI, right? Where sometimes even the creators don't know exactly why the AI made a certain choice.
Yes, the complexity of the algorithms can make tracing responsibility almost impossible. And, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this grappling with responsibility for new, powerful tech isn't entirely new.
You mean like historical examples?
Think about the atomic bomb. The debates after Hiroshima and Nagasaki were intense. You had top military figures, like MacArthur, like Leahy, calling the bombings morally indefensible, specifically questioning the targeting of civilians. That was a moment of reckoning with a new kind of lethal power and who bears the moral weight.
And we saw echoes of this with drone warfare too, didn't we? The arguments about reducing risk to our soldiers often came alongside concerns about civilian casualties, murky accountability, and those signature strikes.
Yes. Signature strikes targeting based on patterns of life, not confirmed identity that feels like a step towards the kind of autonomous targeting people worry about with laws.
It really does.
And when you hear those stories from combat, the soldier told to run over kids or the SEALs debating whether shepherds are a threat, those incredibly difficult, messy, human, moral choices made under fire.
Yeah.
That's the reality of conflict. It highlights the stark contrast with a cold, calculating algorithm making life or death calls without that human moral compass, however flawed it might be.
So how is the world actually trying to deal with this? What's the international response look like?
It's fragmented. That's probably the best word. Most of the talking happens at the UN Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons, the CCW. There's a group of governmental experts, the GGE.
But progress is slow.
Very slow. It works by consensus, so just one country can block progress. It makes getting agreement really tough.
Is there any hope there? Any successful examples?
Well, there is one key precedent. Back in 1995, the CCW managed to preemptively ban blinding laser weapons. Protocol 4. It shows it can be done when the political will exists. And now you've got the UN Secretary General, the ICRC, the Red Cross, really pushing hard. They're calling for a new legally binding treaty specifically on law WOs, ideally by 2026.
But the big players, the countries really developing this tech, they're often hesitant, right? Prioritizing their own strategic edge.
That's the core tension, yes. It leads to these more fragmented, often non-binding initiatives, things like the REAIM Summit or the U.S. Declaration on Responsible Military AI Use. They talk about principles, but they stop short of hard, universal, legally binding rules.
So wrapping this up, what we've really dug into today is that this whole lot of this debate, it's fundamentally a test of how humanity governs its own creations, especially the lethal ones.
Definitely. And it's complicated by that regulatory gray zone, the accountability gap.
Oh, yeah.
It echoes these past struggles we've had every time a disruptive new military technology comes along.
And that argument about more humane machines.
Yeah, the irony there is pretty stark. It suggests removing the very things, empathy, moral reasoning, that capacity for judgment that many would argue are absolutely essential for navigating the horrors of war, even if imperfectly.
It really leaves us with a challenging thought, doesn't it? For you, listening. Is humanity actually ready for the moral and legal fallout of handing over life and death decisions entirely to machines? Or can we, collectively, find a way to keep human judgment and accountability right at the center of it all?
So imagine this. A future where, AI and automation mean most of us don't have to do the traditional 9 to 5 anymore. What happens then?
Right.
We've got some really interesting sources, and today we're diving deep into this idea of a post-work society. It's not just about the money, is it? It's about who we are.
Exactly. It goes way beyond just jobs changing. It's a fundamental rethink of being human when maybe work isn't the main thing. It opens up possibilities for, well, a different kind of life.
Okay, let's get into it. Why is this AI revolution supposed to be so different? We've had tech changes before. People always worried about machines taking jobs, the whole Luddite fallacy thing.
Yeah, and historically that fallacy held true mostly. New jobs did appear.
Right, like the Industrial Revolution, completely new fields opened up.
But what's different now fundamentally is that AI isn't just automating muscle work or simple repetitive tasks.
Yeah.
It's automating cognitive functions.
Cognitive, you mean like think?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Summarizing reports, writing code, reasoning through problems, making certain kinds of decisions. That's a huge leap. It hits those, routine middle-income jobs, the white-collar admin roles.
Okay.
And some analysts talk about a potential proletarianization of professionals. Basically, the old safety nets, the idea that new, better jobs always appear, might not hold this time.
That's sobering. Which brings us to this next point, and this one feels really personal. If work changes so drastically, what about our identity? For so many people, myself included sometimes, your job is, well, it's who you are.
Absolutely, and that's where we need to look at this concept of workism.
Workism.
Yeah, it's this sort of modern belief system where your career is the absolute center of your life, the main place you find meaning and validation. Thinkers like Bertrand Russell, way back, were already questioning this.
Saying it's a trap.
Kind of. A great deception, maybe, that can lead to feeling alienated from yourself. So losing a job isn't just losing income. It can feel like losing, well, everything. It's an existential hit, potentially causing real distress if there aren't other ways to find meaning.
Okay, but hold on. Is all pride in your work bad? I mean, building a career, achieving things. There's real satisfaction there for many people.
Oh, definitely. It's not about saying accomplishment is bad. Not at all. It's more about recognizing that maybe in this coming era, meaning has to come from more than just paid employment, which leads to the big question.
How do we find purpose if the job isn't the main route anymore?
Right. You can look back at, say, the ancient Greeks and their idea of skole. That wasn't just laziness. It was leisure used for growth, for thinking, for community. Contrast that with how we often see leisure today, just recovering from work, right? Binge watching something.
Yeah, guilty as charged sometimes. So are we heading towards a future where only some people figure out how to use this free time well, this leisure inequality?
That's the risk. Or can we cultivate leisure literacy across society? Viktor Frankl's work is really relevant here.
Logotherapy, right? Finding meaning.
Exactly. He argued our main drive is finding meaning, and that's an internal quest. It doesn't have to be tied to a job title. Think about those outsider artists, like Ferdinand Cheval building his amazing ideal palace just because he had to, driven by passion.
So we need to redefine success, away from just money and status.
Pretty much, toward community, creativity, personal growth, valuing contribution, not just employment.
Okay, that sounds good, but practically, how does society function? How do people live if meaningful contribution isn't always linked to getting paid? And that's where UBI comes in, right? Universal basic income.
Yep, UDI is the big policy idea here.
Yeah.
And it really shows the clash of values.
How so? Give us the rundown.
Okay, so the pro-UBI side points to trials like Give Directly's work, showing it can reduce poverty, boost health, maybe even help people start businesses or learn new skills. It empowers people, they argue.
And the catch?
Well, critics, like the Third Way think tank, raise huge concerns. The cost, potentially shrinking the workforce if people choose not to work, and whether it's actually the best way to help the poorest people. Maybe targeted aid is better.
So it boils down to a fundamental disagreement.
You got it. It's almost philosophical. Do you trust people to be productive and contribute without the stick of needing a paycheck? Or do you fear widespread idleness? That's the core tension.
And beyond money, what about just connection? The workplace is often where people socialize, build community. What replaces that?
That's a crucial piece. But the decline of work as the central hub could actually be an opportunity, to build stronger communities elsewhere.
Like how?
Think local groups, volunteering, shared hobbies, maker spaces, community gardens, places where people connect over shared passions, not just shared employment, building a new social fabric based on common interests and commitment.
So this post-work future driven by AI, it's not inevitable. The shape of it isn't set in stone.
Not at all. It's really about the choices we make collectively. How do we use the freedom that this technology could potentially offer us?
Right. It puts the ball back in our court.
Absolutely. The big question isn't really what's AI going to do to us. It's more like, what are we going to choose to do with the freedom AI might give us?
Yeah.
It'll take all our intelligence, our empathy, our creativity to figure out how to build meaningful lives when maybe, just maybe, toil isn't required anymore.
A lot to think about there. What will you do when your time is truly your own? Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack the key insights from the research you've shared. Today, it's a really critical topic, AI and the environment. It's a double-edged sword. Huge potential, but also some serious risks. So our mission in this deep dive, we want to explore how AI can be genuinely transformative for climate solutions, but also we need to look hard at its own ecological footprint. Basically give you a shortcut to figuring out if AI is more of a savior or, well, a burden for the planet, help you navigate it all. Okay, let's unpack this. Traditional approaches, they often just struggle. The complexity of environmental problems, floods, energy grids, wildfires, all so interconnected. AI feels like a real paradigm shift here. It lets us be more proactive, use data, and what really grabs me is how it's changing prediction and response. What are some of the standout examples you've seen?
Absolutely. So in energy, AI algorithms are really boosting load forecasting accuracy and optimizing how power gets distributed. We're seeing real wins. Duke Energy, for instance, uses AI to find methane leaks incredibly fast, almost in real time. That's huge for greenhouse gases. And closer to home, for you, these AI-driven home energy management systems, HAMES, they can cut energy use by like 16 to 25%. That's not trivial.
No, definitely not. Those savings are impressive. And I know disaster prediction is another big one. I've heard about some amazing work there.
For sure. Google's Flood Hub is a great example. It uses these sophisticated AI models, forecasts flood levels, maps where it might hit up to 7 days out. And what's really key is how it can figure things out even in places with very little data. Helping vulnerable areas get warning they might not otherwise receive.
That's crucial, leveling the playing field a bit.
Exactly. And then in conservation, you've got AI-powered drones, satellites, watching over huge ecosystems. There's this initiative in India, IIT Indoor, developing AI to spot animals like tigers near railways tracks, trying to prevent collisions.
Yeah.
It's about using tech to get ahead of problems.
Prevention, not just reaction. Makes sense.
But
Right.
here's where it gets really interesting. We absolutely have to talk about the flip side. AI's own environmental cost. It's climbing fast. The biggest issue, the energy consumption, and the carbon footprint that comes with it, it's exponential.
Yeah, I've been hearing about this. AI sounds incredibly power hungry.
Oh, it is. The data centers running AI,
Yeah.
they use staggering amounts of electricity. Just for context, training something like GPT-4, one of the big language models you probably know, it's estimated to use maybe 50 times the electricity of GPT-3, its predecessor.
50 times.
When even a single query, say asking ChatGPT something, could use up to 10 times the power of a regular Google search.
10 times for one question.
Right. And projections. They suggest data centers could hit 4% of global annual energy use by 2026.
4%. That really makes you stop and think.
It does.
Yeah.
And it brings up this idea, the Jevons paradox, where sometimes making something more efficient, well, it can actually lead to more overall consumption because it becomes cheaper or easier to use more widely.
So making AI better could ironically mean we use more energy in total. That feels counterintuitive. Are we sort of fighting against ourselves?
It definitely shows the complexity. And energy isn't the only thing. Water consumption is another huge factor. These data centers need massive amounts of fresh water just for cooling. Projections suggest AI's water withdrawal in 2027 could be between 4.2 and 6.6 billion cubic meters.
How much is that in perspective?
That's more than half the total water withdrawal for the entire UK.
Wow. Okay, that water number is genuinely shocking. I hadn't really focused on the water impact before.
Yeah. And then there's e-waste. The specialized hardware, the GPUs, graphics processing units needed for AI, they get replaced pretty quickly.
The tech moves so fast.
Exactly. And that creates a big e-waste problem. These things contain metals that are hard to recycle and can pollute soil and water if they're not handled right.
Okay, so we've got this incredible potential on one side and this really significant environmental footprint on the other. When you weigh it all up, do the numbers point one way? Can the benefits actually outweigh these costs? Or is it just messy?
Well, if we try to connect it to the bigger picture, the International Energy Agency, the IEA, they estimate that really widespread use of existing AI tools, it could cut CO2 emissions by about 1,400 megatons by 2035.
1,400 megatons, that's a massive potential reduction.
It is, and what's interesting is that figure is roughly 3 times larger than the projected emissions from data centers, even in a high-growth scenario.
So the net effect could be significantly positive. That's huge. But you said could. What's the catch?
Exactly. That positive outcome isn't a guarantee. The IEA notes there's a lack of momentum, significant hurdles to actually getting these AI tools adopted widely enough to see that benefit. And beyond the numbers, there's the human element. Important ethical questions come up.
Like what?
Well, things like algorithmic bias. Solutions might work better in places with lots of data, often wealthier areas. This can create a sort of digital divide in climate resilience, leaving vulnerable communities behind.
So the benefits aren't always distributed fairly.
Precisely. Although projects like Google's Flood Hub are trying to address that, it's a real concern.
That's a critical point, ensuring everyone benefits.
Exactly. Which leads us to needing things like green AI. Basically, a conscious effort to design and deploy AI with the least environmental impact possible. That means choosing efficient algorithms, maybe practicing mindful use, like batching prompts together instead of sending lots of small ones. Little things can add up.
Makes sense.
And alongside that, we need strong ethical AI frameworks, making sure principles like justice, fairness, transparency, that they guide how we develop AI for climate solutions.
So, summing up our deep dive, AI is undeniably powerful for tackling environmental crises. Huge potential. But it's balanced by its own significant ecological costs, energy, water, e-waste, and these complex ethical challenges. The future isn't just about the tech itself, is it? It's about the choices we make, how we design it, how we use it. Will that Jevons paradox, better efficiency leading to more consumption, define AI's environmental story? Or can we deliberately steer it towards something more symbiotic with the planet? That feels like the big question. Okay, so some thoughts for you to take away. First, maybe look up an AI application tackling climate change, like Fire Scout for wildfires. Think about its benefits versus its footprint, based on what we discussed. Second, find one simple way to cut your own energy use. Maybe try that green AI idea of batching your prompts if you use AI tools. And finally, maybe check out an AI app designed to help you track your carbon footprint. Something like CO2 AI could be interesting to explore. So here's a big question for you. Is the future of AI, an unchangeable path? Like, is it already set? Or do we, humanity, actually get a say in shaping it? Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep, looking at sources like AI 2041, 10 Visions for Our Future. Our mission, really, is to push back against this idea of technological determinism, the feeling that tech's impact is just inevitable, that we can't control it. We want to show that AI's huge influence comes directly from, well, human decisions.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is how that immediately reframes the whole conversation around AI. We stop just passively asking, okay, what's AI going to do to us? And we start, proactively asking, what are we going to do with AI?
Exactly. It's a shift in perspective.
It's a crucial shift, I think. Puts the agency squarely back in our court.
Right. And we're going to uncover some really compelling examples today that underscore just how much power we have in this whole thing. So how does AI 2041 specifically show that the future isn't predetermined?
Well, Kai-Fu Lee does this brilliantly. He lays out 10 distinct futures, plausible ones. Think AI matchmakers, AI doctors, that sort of thing. But none of them are presented as, like, a foregone conclusion. Each one is shown as a direct result of choices people make.
Choices, okay.
Yeah, and he grounds this by describing AI not as some, all-powerful superintelligence, but more like a big pattern recognition engine. It's superhuman in very specific, narrow tasks, sure, but it's never actually conscious.
That demystification seems really important.
It's vital because it puts the accountability, the need for action, back on us, not on some mythical machine intelligence.
And history gives us a powerful mirror for this too, doesn't it? Like the Gutenberg printing press.
Oh, absolutely. Its impact wasn't some autonomous force steamrolling society.
Right. Martin Luther, he used it, didn't he, to spread his 95 Theses super fast.
Exactly. He leveraged the technology, and that fundamentally challenged the existing power structures. Yeah. So it wasn't just the press itself, it was how humans chose to wield it. And you see the same pattern with, say, nuclear energy in the U.S. Its path wasn't fixed. The 1946 Atomic Energy Act first banned private use. Then the 54 Act, well, it shifted to promoting peaceful development.
And public opinion played a role, too.
Definitely. Events like 3 Mile Island really swayed public feeling, which directly influenced policy. The technology's direction was guided by deliberate legislative choices, human choices.
So these historical threads clearly show that human decisions are, like, the driving force. What about something more recent in our lifetime?
The internet is a prime example, actually. The Telecommunications Act of 1996. It deliberately freed the internet from common carrier rules.
Those are the rules for utilities, right?
Yeah.
Like phone lines.
Exactly. Requiring equal service for all. Removing those allowed for really rapid growth, sure. But that kind of hands-off approach, that choice, also led to challenges we see now, like huge tech monopolies.
So the choices made back then, or even the lack of certain policies, directly shaped the internet we have today.
Profoundly. And this ties directly into AI, because we're facing very similar choices right now. Choices about antitrust, about ethical rules for large language models.
Which is why all this talk about governing AI, creating new ethical frameworks, is just so critical. Human choice, it's driven by intuition, by values. It's described as a winding path of personal discovery.
Right, whereas algorithmic selection is more like a straight line drawn by external data. It optimizes for one specific goal.
Yeah, like an algorithm can calculate the cheapest medical treatment, maybe, but only a human can weigh that against how a patient actually feels, their emotional well-being.
Precisely. And the AI's emergent will, as some call it, simply reflects the biases and choices, or sometimes the lack of choices made by its human creators.
Okay, so recognizing that human fingerprint means we have to tackle some big choices right now.
Immediately. Like combating consolidation in the AI industry. We already have a few tech giants controlling key resources.
It can stifle innovation.
Exactly. It risks creating a kind of digital caste system. So policy choices are crucial here. Things like antitrust rules, promoting open source data sharing agreements. We need frameworks that push for transparency and accountability.
And in areas like healthcare.
Well, the focus is often on AI augmenting human intelligence, not replacing it. Organizations like the American Medical Association are pushing for equity and patient-centered care to be built into these systems.
And Kai-Fu Lee also talks about needing warm skills, right? Empathy, creativity.
Yes, absolutely. He emphasizes cultivating things like empathy, creativity, compassion as humanity's greatest assets, really. It's not a zero-sum game. AI can handle the tedious stuff.
Freeing us up for more intensive creativity, as he puts it.
Exactly. That whole robots will take our jobs narrative kind of misses the point by giving agency to the tech itself.
Yeah.
When really it's about the human designers and the choices they make.
And what about AI for social good? That sounds positive.
It is promising. But there's a risk. It just becomes, a marketing thing, a commercial facade. We need to demand genuine, non-commercial accountability there, too.
Okay, so let's pull this together. We've looked at the visions in AI 2041, some history, some philosophy, and it all seems to point to one conclusion. The future isn't fixed. It's a path shaped by our ongoing choices. We're active participants here, not just watching it happen.
Indeed. Human agency has always been the defining factor in these huge technological shifts. Think printing press, nuclear power, the internet. The choices we're making right now, how we govern monopolies, how we design ethical rules, these are literally the blueprints for 2041.
So maybe the final question isn't really about what AI will become. Maybe it's about what we will become in its presence. What kind of world will you choose to create with AI? Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into AI and how it's profoundly changing our professional lives.
It really is. There's so much talk, isn't there?
Definitely. A lot of anxiety about jobs, but also real excitement about collaborating with these new tools. So our goal today is to cut through some of that noise. We want to figure out what's actually new this time with AI, what's maybe just history repeating itself.
And where you, the listener, fit into this picture.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, first off, this fear.
Yeah.
This technological unemployment idea, it's really not new.
Right, we've seen this before.
We have. Think back to the Industrial Revolution, the Luddites. Even Keynes talked about the Luddite fallacy, this idea that tech disruption is only temporary.
But you're saying this is different.
I am. Because the crucial difference now is what AI displaces. It's not just physical labor anymore. It's encroaching on, what we might call mechanical mind processes.
Mechanical, you mean like routine cognitive tasks?
Precisely. Rule-based thinking. Things that don't need deep intuition or human judgment. That's the new frontier AI is crossing.
That feels like a really key distinction. It shifts the focus entirely, doesn't it? From pure automation, maybe, to augmentation.
Exactly. And the scale. The World Economic Forum, they put out some numbers. They projected something like 170 million new jobs could be created between 2020 and 2030.
Wow, 170 million.
But, and this is the kicker, around 92 million existing roles might be lost or fundamentally changed.
So a net gain, but underneath that is just a massive reshaping of work itself.
A fundamental reshaping. And it's not just about the numbers. We really need to consider job quality.
Ah, all right.
And the very real potential for a big skills mismatch. That could slow down wage growth, create new inequalities if we don't adapt properly.
Okay, so if the ground is shifting like this and job quality might be affected, it brings us back to the core question for you listening. What can only a human bring? And it seems like we're seeing this surprising, almost overdue reevaluation of, what we used to dismissively call soft skills.
Absolutely. If you connect the dots, skills like, say, curiosity, resilience, being okay with ambiguity, perspective taking, building relationships, even humility.
Yeah.
These are becoming the core competitive advantage for humans.
It makes sense. AI is great at answering what is, but it takes human curiosity to ask what if or why not.
That's the engine. That's real innovation. AI can amplify it, sure, but it can't spark it. Or think about humility that's crucial for not blindly over-trusting AI, right? Avoiding costly mistakes.
That's such a good point. And it ties into leadership too, doesn't it? I saw some research companies with human-centric leaders showing authenticity, empathy, flexibility. They actually saw 37% more engagement from employees.
That high. Wow.
Yeah, and 12% higher productivity. So these aren't just fuzzy nice-to-haves. They're foundational.
Completely foundational. It's about leading with the very things AI can't replicate. That focus on connection, on collaboration. That's how you unlock AI's potential. It becomes a strategic collaborator, not something to fear.
And we are already seeing examples of this collaboration, right? It's not just theoretical.
Oh, definitely not. Think about healthcare. A radiologist working with an AI, they're achieving incredible accuracy in detecting early-stage cancer. We're talking over 90% 5-year survival rates when caught early because of this partnership.
Incredible.
Or in creative fields, artists using AI to generate concept variations, break through creative blocks. Musicians using platforms like Traxy, I think is one, to get ideas for beats or melodies.
So the human role shifts. It becomes more about directing, curating.
Exactly. Skills like prompt engineering, knowing how to talk to the AI, basically.
Right, getting the best out of it.
And just critical thinking about the output. You're the director, the refiner. You apply the judgment.
But even with all that amazing collaboration, there's still a line AI can't cross, isn't there? Something fundamentally human.
Yes. Genuine empathy.
Empathy.
We talk about the cognitive versus affective gap. AI can process data, recognize patterns, maybe even simulate understanding emotions.
Okay.
But it can't feel them. It doesn't have lived experience. It can't truly grasp the moral weight, the joy, the sorrow.
And people sense that lack of authenticity. There was that Hebrew University study. Fascinating stuff. People preferred waiting, sometimes days or weeks, for an empathic response from a human rather than getting an instant reply from an AI.
That authenticity premium, they called it. It shows how much we crave genuine connection.
So AI can't really bridge that trust gap, can it?
Not in the same way. Human empathy involves an emotional cost, a vulnerability, which is actually what builds trust. AI can't offer that. That makes it fundamentally unsuited for roles where deep, authentic connection is everything. Think mental health, for instance.
That's a crucial boundary. But okay, let's flip this slightly. AI isn't just about limitations or trying to imitate us. It has its own unique strengths, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's important to see that, too. AI can bring objectivity. It can potentially help mitigate some of our biases, things like prejudice or just simple fatigue affecting judgment.
Interesting, like a check and balance.
Sort of, yeah. There are examples like facial recognition systems, when properly designed and trained, outperforming humans on certain identification tasks. Something like 81% accuracy versus 61% for humans in one study. So AI can act as a corrective for human fallibility sometimes.
So it's not just humans plus AI, but maybe AI helping correct human weaknesses in some cases.
It creates a potentially more robust partnership, yes.
Okay. So when we pull all this together, what does it really mean for you listening right now?
Well, the picture seems pretty clear, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. The future isn't AI replacing humans across the board. It's AI with humans.
Definitely. And those uniquely human skills, curiosity, resilience, empathy, critical thinking, they become your ultimate competitive edge.
So for individuals, the takeaway seems to be lean into developing those human-centric skills. Adopt a growth mindset. See AI as your collaborator, your tool. Become that curator and director we talked about.
And for organizations, it means investing in that human-centric leadership style, rethinking talent frameworks to actually value these crucial human competencies.
Right. It's a shift for everyone. So perhaps the final thought to leave you with is this. What aspect of your own uniquely human capabilities will you choose to cultivate most deeply to really thrive in this new age of AI?
That's all for this episode of the Deep Dive Cast. Thanks for joining us. We hope you gained some valuable insights. Be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive into the world's best ideas. Until then, keep learning and growing.